Tues. Today it is Tuesday the 22nd of August 2023 and I've had a very interesting day, not necessarily a very good day I would say. It's been tough. I've got a few thoughts about the last few days to share with you, and a couple of other things as well. My actual jobs today won't take very long to go through, so let's start with that. So I had my pre-booked job in going from Boston to Lincoln that I booked in early yesterday, and that yesterday I thought was a mistake, but I thought let's be positive today and see how it goes. But I can tell you now, it definitely was a mistake. It's a £50 job, my minimum charge job really, and it was a 9 o'clock pickup. So I picked up exactly at 9 o'clock from just outside Boston, and I made my way about the hour and 10 minutes or so towards Lincoln. And there's a bit of traffic, so I probably ended up being about an hour and a half in the end. And I got to Lincoln, got unloaded, and then I was looking for a job, and I was reasonably confident that I would get something from Lincoln. But I was there for quite a long time, and there was nothing nearby. There were jobs Nottingham, which is about an hour away, jobs Boston, about an hour the other way, and not really anything from where I was. And I was getting quite desperate, I suppose, to get another job. I put a few bids on, and I began looking sort of within sort of 20 miles, and then I got to 30 miles away, and I got to bidding on stuff that was an hour away. But the problem I found today was I had, for example, Nottingham jobs that were small, lots of small van jobs, very little large van work available today. And so I had to kind of justify drive for an hour to get to Nottingham, to pick up a small van job, and then that was only going sort of at most 60-70 miles. So I was trying to put bids on slightly over £1 a mile to give me some money to get to those jobs, and I realised I'm probably not going to get these unless I just happen to catch it right. There wasn't enough work on there today to do that, so I'm sort of caught between two stools. Do I reduce my price and then drive for an hour to pick up a load, or do I stick where I am and stick with my prices and hope that something comes up? And I've been in this situation a few times, and today I was pretty determined that I didn't want to do a lot of dead miles. So my decision was to stay in Lincoln for as long as I could bear it until something came up that was reasonably priced for me. And I did get a job, and it was going from, I'm just going to double check where it's from, I'm pretty sure it was Lincoln. Maybe it was a bit further down the line. Yeah, it was Lincoln, so I remember. Yeah, so I was 15 minutes away from the pickup, the other side of Lincoln. And it was going to Coventry, and I thought, oh, that'd be a good job. So that job was for it was 76 miles, and I bid £75 because I was so close to it. I was really 12 to 15 minutes away from the pickup, and it was asking for 11:30 to 12:30 pickup, and this came on the feed about 11:30, just before. So I had plenty of time, and I got a call within about 5 minutes and made my way to the pickup. I was really grateful to the guy that called me. I don't know whether he could tell but in my voice I knew that I was like, thank you. I thanked him 2 or 3 times for the job. I don't know whether that was noticed or not, but I definitely was grateful for getting the job. Decent money, close to where I was, going to a good area, or at least I thought it was a good area. So I went to the pickup point. Unfortunately, a bit of a problem picking up. I got to the postcode and it was nowhere to be seen. So I stuck in the name of the company and it was 6 minutes down the road. So I made my way towards where I thought it was, and I rang the shipper and explained that is the postcode correct, because I couldn't find it. And they said there was correct and that there were 2 sites. And I really couldn't see where I'd been taken on the industrial estate, where I was meant to pick up. So I drove most of the way to the other side, turned around, and I put in the name of the road, and that took me back to nearer where I was before. So I turned around, went back up, I'd rung the shipper to say, I think I know, I'll let you know when I get there, if I have a problem I'll let you know. And then I got to, I was going to the road, and it took me past the trading estate that I'd just been to previously. But if you imagine the trading estate entrance, I went right and it went into the trading estate. There's a long road going left, parallel to the access road. And as I was driving along the access road, I noticed this massive building that I was meant to be at on the industrial estate, but I couldn't get to it. And the road that I was heading towards was still another 2 or 3 minutes up the road I was on. So very frustrating. It was really busy traffic. I was going backwards and forwards all over the place. In the end, I got to the right site with plenty of time. I had about 20 minutes to spare from I was about 10 past 12. And then I was behind a lorry going in. So I drove in cheekily past the lorry because it was turning around. And then I walked up to the office before the lorry driver did and explained what I was there for, and they said that they needed a reference number, and I didn't have a reference number. I rang the shipper and explained the situation, and they said they didn't have a reference number either, but they would find out from the customer. But usually you don't need a reference number. So I waited for a call back. The guys in the warehouse suggested I'd go to the office and ask them. So I went to the office, got a call back from the shipper saying, oh, there's a guy's name you can ask for. We don't have a number, but there's a guy's name. I think they were sending emails to the customers to try and find the reference number. So the guy in the office was trying to help me, and he was trying to ring the person whose name was given, but he wasn't available. And so I used that time to go to the toilet. Walked round the site to the toilet, and as I was coming back I got a text on my phone from the shipper with a reference number. So I gave the reference number, and then they explained that the warehouse wasn't quite ready and I'd have to wait for a bit. So I rang the shipper to explain that we were sort of on target now. We've got agreement that I was going to take something, but it wasn't ready yet. And I just went to my van, and we agreed that when the lorry had been loaded up, I'd just go and park where the lorry was at the moment. So the lorry got loaded up, I reversed up and got my van unloaded, waited for about 2 or 3 minutes, no, probably about 5 minutes maybe there, and then this guy came out with a box in his hand, and I thought, is that it? And it was just a box. So I put the box in, strapped it down, signed all the paperwork, took a photo, and then rang the shipper back, and I said, I'm on the road now, can I please have £10 for waiting? I'd been waiting, if you excluded the error I made getting there in the first place, which was about 15 minutes delayed, on top of that I was on site for about 35 minutes. So I thought £10 was a fair thing to ask for. And he said that's fine, and it's got a good vibe from him. He seemed like a really sound guy. So I made my way over to Coventry, and the drop off wasn't as simple as it could be, because they were loading they were quite a big site, but quite small parking area, and lots going on, lots of bays, but they were all kind of full of, not vehicles, but full of stuff in the way. And there was one lorry being loaded up, and I asked the forklift driver what I should do with the box, and she said, if I told you what you really want to say, you wouldn't want to hear it, but she was joking. So I went to the office and said, can I leave this to the office? And after a bit of very unfunny banter from them, I just thought, oh, just tell me the answer. I'll tell you what happened. I went into the office, and it was clearly a warehouse. The warehouse, a little corner of the warehouse, had some desks. So they were warehouse staff, but sitting down on desks. There was about 4 or 5 people there. Some of them chatting, some of them working, maybe 6. And I stood there and I held up the box and said, I've got a box for you, what should I do with it? And they did nothing, mostly did nothing. But one of them said, oh, you got a box, have you? He's got a box, he said to his friend. His friend said, oh, he's got a box. And I thought, oh, fair enough, guys, you're being funny, but can you just help me here? And I said to stand there, take their humour. They didn't tell what to do. They were just saying, oh, he's got a box, oh, he's got a box. And I thought, okay, fair enough. That's not helping me. So after about a minute, well, it seemed like a minute, it seemed far longer than it needed to be, I just walked a few steps forward, put the box down on the floor in the open area, took a photo of it, and by this point someone was walking towards me. That was some paperwork, and he was fine then, but there's no real need to do all that crap at the start of it. I mean, I'm just trying to deliver a parcel to you. Just take it with some grace. Interestingly, it reminds me of. Well, no, I'm not going to say it now. I'll say it another time. Right. So then I was in Coventry, and I parked up outside the factory that I delivered to. Rang the shipper and just explained that I delivered, because we'd had this kind of ongoing talk, and I felt that by me telling him at each point, I think I had his mobile number. Every time I called the number on the CX app, it went through to him directly. So by the end of it, he knew who I was before I said anything. And so I called him, said I finished the delivery, and just wanted to double check the invoicing process. And he just said through the CX is fine, which is what I prefer. And then I thought I'd take a bit of a risk, I suppose, not quite the right word, and I thought I'd ask him some questions. So we had a bit of a chat, because I know they're really busy, but sometimes you can talk to the shipper. And I explained what's happened. I thanked him for. Oh yeah, sorry, I missed something out. He gave me £20 for waiting. I'd asked for 10, and when I looked at the booking, he gave me 20, which I thought was a really great thing for him to do, a really fair thing for him to do, and I think that he just valued the communication that I was doing. Anyway, so off the back of this, I was really pleased to do the job for him, and I wanted to have a chat. So I had a bit of a chat with him, and he told me some really interesting things about the CX, and about how shippers like him like to work, and what sort of work he does. And I'm going to share with you at the end of this video kind of what I've kind of learned from that. It's not that I've learned it for the first time, but he kind of clarified in my mind what I'm looking for in this job, and I think it's definitely possible. I just don't know how to do it, is the problem. So, bit of chat, and I put the phone down, and I was looking for a job at Coventry, and it was now about about 3 o'clock by now, maybe a bit past 3 o'clock, and I thought I'd put plenty of time to find a decent job. But again, I had the same problem I had in Lincoln. Very little was coming out of Coventry I had a couple of jobs that I was really close to, but pound a mile bids on. They're all small van stuff. Pound a mile bids on them. I was quite close to one of them. I was about 5 minutes away from one of them, and I didn't get anything for ages. And I was really getting quite desperate. And it was 4:30, so I must have been there for a good hour and a half before I got a sniff of a job. And in the end I did get a job, and it was going from Wolverhampton, which was over an hour away from where I was, going to Aylesbury, but delivering tomorrow morning. And another job was from Coventry going to Crewe, and that was obviously a lot closer, but going in the opposite direction. So I actually got a call from the guys from Wolverhampton. Well, they're not based in Wolverhampton, but they pick up Wolverhampton, and they gave me the job. I did ask them. Oh yeah, so the reason why I bid on that job, it was 100 and I think it was about 103 miles. Let me just double check. It was. So the miles on the CX system were 97 miles from Wolverhampton to Aylesbury. Well, I had to travel for 23 miles to get from Coventry to Wolverhampton, and it was well over an hour. So I did bid £100, and the reason for that was I thought, because I'm going to Aylesbury for this one in the morning, I'll try and get permission to co-load, because then I'll go and get my loads from my regular shipper, which are dropping off in High Wycombe, which isn't that far from Aylesbury. So I'll do those pickups tonight and then take them all down tomorrow, drop off tomorrow morning. So when he rang, the first thing I said was, I would like to get a job, but can I take a co-load as long as I get yours delivered in the morning? And they were fine with that, so I had my permission. And then I put the phone down, and then within 5 seconds I had a phone call come through from the other shipper, Coventry to Crewe, and it was a good rate, and I was really close to it. But I had to say to them, I'm sorry, I've just taken a job. And so I was there for an hour and a half, not getting a sniff, and then suddenly 2 decent jobs come up at that point. So I do want to talk today about my view of the CX and my view of the shippers that I want to work with. So I'm going to say it now in case I forget it by the end of the video. Right, so then I made my way about 4:30ish towards Wolverhampton, and it was an hour. I had an hour and 5 minutes on my journey when I first left, and pickup was due at 5:30. And so it must have been 25. No, it was 25 past 4 when I left. An hour and 5 minutes. I was going to be there exactly on time. And so I made my way there, and the traffic was quite heavy on the M6, but it was moving. Got to the postcode, and then I realised I'd made an error. And my error was I'd not changed the postcode from the alert, the first 4 digits. I think it was WV4 maybe. So I put WV4 in when I was looking at the jobs, and then I put that in so on Google Maps, and I just left that in. I didn't put in the full postcode. And then when I got to WV4, obviously when I looked around I wasn't in the right place. Checked the postcode, realised my mistake, put the postcode in, and I was still 9 minutes away from the pickup. So I was a bit frustrated with myself for not checking. I ran the shipper, I got myself on the main road. So I'd come off the main road, I turned around, and at this point I'm trying to get there as quickly as possible, and I'm stuck behind a car turning left, and I've got to turn right onto a busy road, and the car in front of me wasn't going into the lane, giving me a chance to get in traffic. So that moment of frustration was so intense, because I knew it was my fault that I was stuck here getting stressed about being late, and there's a car in front of me I couldn't do anything about, and traffic on the main road I couldn't do anything about. And it's just, it's so frustrating when that happens. Yeah, so I rang the shipper apologetically saying that I was going to be 7 minutes later than the time it's closed, and they were absolutely fine with it. They didn't seem to care at all. So I was glad I called and told them. So I made my way those 9 minutes to where I was meant to go to, and it was a brewery. First I've been to a brewery. I was picking up some non-brewery related items there, and I picked them up from reception, which was really good because the gate was closed to the goods in, or good dispatch. Picked them up, got them tied down, and then I made my way towards my first pickup of my sort of route that I had to do. And I hadn't worked out where it was in relation to Wolverhampton, but I thought I've got no other choice now. I've picked up these items, I'm going to Aylesbury for the morning, so to make a bit more money I'm going to have to pick up my pickups from Ripley and from Doncaster. Now Ripley was about an hour and a half away from Wolverhampton, so I left Wolverhampton about 6:45, and I got to Ripley at 7:15. They couldn't find the items I was meant to collect, so I waited there, let them sort of do their checks. I looked somewhere, and then by 7:45 I just said I've got to have to go. And as I said that, as I was going to say that, they had an answer from their boss and basically confirmed that as far as they were concerned there was nothing I could take. So got them to sign my form and then went off to Doncaster. I must say that I was hoping to get to Doncaster quickly, but I didn't know how far it was from Ripley to Doncaster. I was hoping it was less than an hour, and actually it's 45 minutes. So I was really pleased. That's one of the first things that went right today, is that being a short trip. So I got myself to Doncaster by about 8:30 and picked up my items, and then I was ready to head down to High Wycombe. And my plan is, that's what I'm doing at the moment, I'm now heading to High Wycombe. My plan is to tramp outside the High Wycombe depot, get these offloaded for 7 o'clock, and then make my way across to Aylesbury in time for an 8 o'clock drop off of my other items, my co-loaded items, and then I'm in a good, I'm ready to rock and roll to my next job by about 8:30, which should give me a good chance to get a decent job from that area, and I will be heading away from London. I think it's just not something I want to do. Yeah, so there's a plan, and that plan means I've got to keep driving tonight, and I have done some stats for tonight based on me driving down to High Wycombe tonight. I'll be there around about midnight, and my stats for today are really bad. I've put in the mileage for when I get to High Wycombe, and I've put in the time. So let me tell you about that. So for today, by the time I finish work today, I will have worked for 15 and a half hours exactly. I will have driven 434 miles, 434. The diesel costs at the moment are 15.04 pence per mile that I drive. Therefore my fuel cost today will be £65.29. I've actually only completed 2 jobs today. My £50 mistaken job that I did booked on Monday for this morning, and that's from Boston to Lincoln. And my £75 that became £95 with the £20 waiting on it, I did from Lincoln to Coventry. The pickup I did from Wolverhampton is still on board, so I'm not including that yet. That'll be tomorrow's figures. And obviously my pickups from my regular shipper are going to be again delivered tomorrow, so I can't include that money. So my income today is £145. That means that I have made a grand total of, after fuel, £80. I'm saying inverted commas profit, because actually that's exactly the amount that I need to pay for my business costs every day that I work. So effectively, at this point in time, I have not earned any money off the CX. I've just covered my costs. Okay, tomorrow will be better, hopefully. I've got £230 in the bank. Well, I don't know, it will be in the bank when I deliver my High Wycombe job. £100 from my Wolverhampton pickup. So that's £330 I've got once I've unloaded tomorrow morning. Then I've got the chance to make some money in the day tomorrow. I am going to aim to get home tomorrow night. Then I've got 2 days, Thursday and Friday, at the end of the week to try and get a decent run going. So I think at this point I'd like to talk a bit about my experience of CX this week. And it has, I think, been quite bad for me. So let me try and add some flesh to that. I generally am pretty positive about CX as an app. I would say, if I was to summarise my views about CX, I would say as an app it's really useful. It's indispensable for someone with no contacts, but I have some major issues about how the people who run the app, the exchange group, how they market and use the app, and how they don't enforce the rules very well. But I think that's a separate thing. So my use of the app, I'm generally positive about. My approach and attitude to the owners of the app, I think, is much less favourable. And in time, they might address the problems that everyone raises. At this point, I will mention, James has said it a few times in his videos, James Freddie Fletcher, there are stats that they produce about, the number of loads that are unsold, the number of loads available, or the number of drivers on the app. It's absolute nonsense. There are loads of reasons why the data that we see as drivers and the shippers see doesn't match up with what they're saying. And in my view, I think they know that it's nonsense. And I don't really trust that the CX owners have the logistics industry's best interests at heart. And I think I said in a post on James's video, which I want to probably say here, I regard the exchange groups, because they've got a monopoly almost on this, I think the way they have approached this recently is quite parasitic rather than mutually beneficial, and I think it isn't helping the industry. Because I'm quite new to the industry, I can be quite fresh, and I can be, I don't have preconceived ideas about what it should be like. I just take it as it is, today. And people who have been in this industry a long time have seen it change, and they don't necessarily like the way it's going. And I would trust their point of view. So that brings me a little bit to my next point about shippers, but I'll come back to my point about CX. So, but putting aside that, I've always found the CX app to be really helpful to find me work. Starting from last Thursday in Scotland, Thursday was okay, didn't make target, but it's okay, but it's really stressful. That's not to do with the jobs per se, just the way it went. Friday was almost a complete write-off. Monday for me was a poor day, and Tuesday today obviously was really quite bad in terms of the amount of jobs that I won. Now, I can't be definitive about the reason, and it's too soon to say what the reason is. All I can say is I've always felt that I can get a job, and if I don't get this one, I get the next one that comes along. And for the last few days, I've been bidding on jobs and feeling, I might not get a job today. And I've been feeling that I should bid less, but I just won't do that. I'd rather, I think, stick where I am and try and stick to my prices that I think are fair than go lower. But that's easier said than done. And if I didn't have my non-CX job to do today, I would have been really disappointed about today's work. So there's a slight caveat to that. So I'm saying that I think, for me, 6 feels like it's a bit less busy. Maybe it's to do with the summer holidays. It's the last week of August. Maybe it's to do with school holidays and just holidays generally. I don't know. I've not got context to know. There may be a number of reasons why. Maybe I've just been unlucky. Maybe tomorrow will be great. Maybe next week will be great. I haven't had enough days in a row of it being bad to be sure everything's fundamentally changed. But I just feel the last few days it's been tougher to get decent paying jobs, and I'll wait to see if that's a trend or not. So that brings me to my next point about shippers. I spoke to the shipper today, and I've kind of formulated in my mind the kind of relationships that I want to encourage or form, I suppose. And I'll summarise it like this. I like and respect and trust small and medium-sized shippers. You might refer to them as being family firms, that kind of size. I think if you're a small, maybe by small I mean perhaps one office, maybe even 2 offices, and maybe you've got your own fleet of vans, maybe it's a 4 or 5 or 6 up to 10 vans or that. But the owner is still someone who knows all the people that works for them. That's the kind of level that I like. And the reason why I like that is if they've been around for sort of more than 2 or 3 years, they obviously know what they're doing. They know how to survive a business, and therefore they've got the right way of working. And they tend to be people who prefer good service, I think, in my experience at least. And they prefer quality, they prefer reliability, they prefer to know the driver, for want of a better word. And that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for those sort of shippers that want to know the name of their driver and remember the driver. There might not be one that works for them, and there may be like lots of drivers that they sub out to. I don't literally mean they know my name, but if I do 10 jobs for someone, they're going to get to know my name. If I've done 1 or 2, I'd have to be really special to remember my name. So that's what I'm looking for. What I don't like, and they're not all the same, I must say. I'm not being negative about all of them, but the national shippers, I don't generally like working for them because they tend to be more focused on price. And I can see the point, because they've got big overheads, they've got big staff. The staff they're going to have there's going to be a turnover of staff that come and go, need training, more so than smaller shippers. They're going to have to be winning business over and over again. So there is a different model to their work, and therefore they don't really care who you are. They don't really care if you're good at what you do, to be honest. Sometimes they might. Some of them will, I think. There are some I can think of which give me the impression they do care, but there are some that I can mention that I think at the prices you're selling your work at, or you expect to get work for, you don't care about the quality. You just want the cheapest bit that comes in. And I just don't want to work for those people. And I'm not quite at the point where I block their work, but I think I'll get there. I'm going to give myself a year to do this before I start blocking people for that sort of thing, because I want to make sure I'm not jumping the gun. But I don't really want to see jobs from some people because I've never bid on them, because I know it's about 2 or 3, but I know I just don't want to work for you. And it's not all national shippers, I don't think. I come across some that are pretty good. And I want to do this job for at least a year before I can decide whether the shipper is bad or good, because I might have just had a bad experience with one shipper I might just be unlucky. I might have had a bad experience with the person I spoke to, or the day I was bidding, I misjudged it. So, but I stand by the I want to find and work for those middle small shippers, because I think they are by far and away the best. I mean this in all words, people to work for. I think I would describe it like this. I feel that those shippers are working for people and they are working with people, whereas I think that the national shippers are working with processes and systems and they're working for themselves. I hope that makes some sense. And it's not earth-shattering, and lots of you who've done this stuff for many, many years will go, of course, I've always known that. And I'm not really just talking to you, I'm talking to the new people who haven't done much work or just starting to kind of bear in mind that all shippers aren't the same. And I suppose I'm sharing my perspective on what I want from a shipper. I spoke to the guy today from the company, and I was saying this something to him, and I was saying the problem I have is I don't know how to find those companies. And I don't mean that literally, because what I'll do is I will keep doing jobs off the CX, and as those companies come up, I'll recognise the names and I'll think, oh, that's a company I want to work for, that's another one I want to work for. But what I can't do is I don't know how to take, when I find a company, how do I get them to know I could be a great driver for you, because they don't know me. So all I can do is do jobs to my best ability. I think over enough time my name will become known, I think, is what I'm hoping, and that's what I think will happen. So I think I just need to be in this game for longer to get the contacts, to get the reputation, to have that sort of relationship with people. So that's, I think, how I'm going to do it. Actively doing it, I don't know. I did today actively ring the shipper to have a conversation with them, and I found that a tough thing to start, even to ask to have the conversation. But I just jumped in and did it, and in the end, he was really good to give me a lot of his time, about 10 minutes of his time, and I felt it was a really valuable conversation. So I just need to find a way. I've saved his number on my phone. That's one thing I can start doing. One thing I can start doing is saving good companies' contacts in my phone, and then maybe so often ringing them and seeing they've got work for me. But I just think that seems a bit too desperate, or a bit too what's the word? It's not in my comfort zone doing that, to put it that way. I'd much rather the shipper called me because they like what I did, and I go, I'd love to do a job for you. Anyway, I'm waffling a bit now. So that's those two things. And then my final thing I want to say in this video is I had a late payer. I had a couple of late payers this month already. Sent off emails to them, and lo and behold, when I looked for one of the shippers on the CX system, I couldn't find them. And then today I was looking at the CX desktop, and I noticed a alert, I think a notification, and I clicked on it, and it said, this is our updated blocked list. Didn't know it existed. Clicked on the blocked list, and the top company in the blocked list is the person I'm trying to get money from. The third one down that list today is another company that I've worked for recently. I haven't been home yet to check whether they owe me an invoice. I've got a sinking feeling that they probably do. And I'm not surprised about this, because they're one of the companies that I got really frustrated with, because every single job they posted was a backload job. And clearly it wasn't. It was just a way of making it cheap. So I wasn't that enamoured by them when I realised that after about 2 or 3 jobs came up. But now they're on the block list as well. I've got a sinking feeling I've got 2 jobs I can't get paid for. Oh dear. As it was all going so well as well. So I'll leave it there. Thank you very much for listening. Ooh, excuse me. What have you learnt today?